have an extensive classical training, your music and dance. But I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you studied with Marcel Marceau. Is that true?
I studied with Marcel Marceau's teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yes, in New York City, I had one very brilliant class with him. He was brilliant. Etienne, way back then.
That's going back a ways, right?
Yeah, it had quite an influence on me.
Yeah. So you didn't study with Marcel Marceau, but you got the same
No,
training, the
I
same
don't know.
training that he did.
Mm, No, he was traveling all the time doing his shows, performing all over the world.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. Do you think that classical training that you had, did that set you apart or give you an advantage during your acting career?
Advantage, definitely. I had classical musical training, of course, the classical dance in ballet. I studied voice. I studied opera for 8 years. All of it matters a great deal, depending on what you want to do. Of course,
Yeah.
I did to start out with a lot of Broadway, a lot of theater, a lot of musical theater. So it combines all those talents, dance, music, and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The pursuing a career and actually being successful in, the classical arts, in performance, musical performance or opera, it's incredibly difficult. And you found definitely your niche in acting and in performance on stage. But thinking back to all that other training that you got, do you ever wish that maybe your road had branched in a different direction and maybe you could have become an opera singer or you could have become a classical pianist or something else? Or are you pretty happy with the way things went?
I'm totally happy.
Yeah.
I think that our lives, our careers, uh, fulfill themselves as we go. We sense that we're doing the right thing. When we're young, we search out teachers, different, for instance, in dance. I would have gone from ballet to tap. I did acrobatics. I studied flamenco dancing. I even was in Spain for a couple of weeks in Seville to study flamenco. So all areas of dance I studied, and it eventually did lead to the stage. And the high point for me, certainly in dance, which I preferred over all my careers really,
Mm-hmm.
the high point for me was in the musical theater.
Yeah.
All the musicals, the big musicals where you sing and dance and acting as a prerequisite.
Mm-hmm.
We'll pronounce that. Yeah. hmm
Yeah. So I know you had quite a career on stage. Do you still get to performances? Do you still try to get to as many musicals and shows as you can?
I get to see everything that's on television. And yes, we're so fortunate these days that you get the operas and all the best dance. Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
What you get to see. I do miss New York and seeing live theater.
Sure. Sure. Something that people may not necessarily know is that you're pretty active online and you have a couple of different websites and one where you do a lot of writing. Um, you recently wrote, and I'm gonna read it back to you. I'm gonna quote you here. Whatever curious popularity I have as a performer is usually ascribed to my being, quote, larger than life. In truth, it has been my ability to right-size myself that has defined me as a woman during the changing eras of American culture. What do you mean by that, by right-sizing yourself?
Wow. Um, it's kind of strange when you're barely a teenager and you're already 5'11". You try not to notice people's reaction to you because they're not necessarily uh, true to who you are. So living from a goal or from the inside or with a conviction or direction or having great teaching in your life gives you those core values that allows you to soar beyond all the complaints that teenagers have about how they're treated.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess what I'm saying is I was very lucky to have a mother who made it possible for me to have this career along with going to school, so that after school I would take classes in these various disciplines that allowed me to be wholly ready by the age of 16, 17, 18, by the time, I got out of high school, you see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. What I got out of that essay that you were writing is that also that you were able to move with the time. Your career has spanned so many years, and that you were able to move with the changing expectations of not only what an actress should be, or what a woman should be in show business. And things have changed so dramatically through the years, and it seems like you have been able to, in your career, sort of stay with that and mold yourself to what was necessary and what was required, but still be uniquely you.
Wow. Some thinking, some mouthful. Wow.
You said it. I didn't say it. You said this.
That's a great big compliment. I think that today in social media and just citing Facebook, for instance, is the quickest way to get feedback to who you think you are. I mean, we put it out there and we get this feedback. A little of it we don't like. I hope not a lot.
Right.
But all of it is good to some extent to kind of, although we guide ourselves, but to guide ourselves toward our greater good, so that you're not in repetition of your life, but you're ever open to, you're just open to receiving who it is that you are. It's growing up with no top on. Oops. Something like that.
Something like that. Your words, not mine.
Okay.
I understand that you have quite a garden.
Oh, yes. Do I ever?
Do you ever? Have you always had a green thumb, or was that something that you developed during your life?
I think the garden was the place I was happiest with my father.
Really?
When he was digging and doing all that stone masonry, he actually built me a playhouse. And I remember running in and out of it and in and out of it and doing somersaults on the grass and going over and sitting with my feet draped in the pools. He had these series of fountains, one above the other, where we lived on a hillside, so they kind of, one water fell into the other pool, and it was a lovely place to be, where you didn't have to say anything. You were just calm in your own building materials, your own creativeness, and I think that warmth has always been with me. And then I love flowers. Oh my God, they have so much beauty around one. I think that's probably the theme of my life.
Yeah.
If you were going to give a tour of your garden, where would you begin?
Well, in the driveway, where I have hundreds and hundreds of new irises now.
Oh, wow.
I put them in pots, and they're so spectacular. And people usually come in spring. For us, it's April here, because the roses are in bloom, and everything is that it's just exploding. It's so beautiful. Well, that's just one of the treats. I have 4 gardens, and I have 4 secret gardens, so little kids get to enjoy themselves.
It's just amazing.
Magical when you follow a little kid around the garden and they see all these animals. They're not real. They're made of stone, but there'll be spiders and snakes and alligators. I mean, that could scare you. Scared one of my Japanese gardeners.
Would you say that gardening is how you find peace in the world?
I think gardening is where you can go to get it.
Yeah.
If your piece doesn't arrive within a few minutes in a really nice garden, because nature is at its perfection, and it's in its whole cycle. When you think of the planting and the growth and the blooming and the flowers dying out and the ground coming back to where winter you don't see flowers, it's a marvelous rejuvenation. We should think of ourselves that way, I think. Yeah. We are rejuvenating every year, every day, every minute, all the time. Just being open to the nature of things.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I wish I was a better gardener. The weeds weeds drive me crazy. I can't keep up with the weeds.
Well, please. Oh well, I have this thing about leaf blowers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, just wrecks your concentration. They don't do anything; they just make noise.
That's right. I wanted to ask you about My Living Doll, the show. That show ended up having a surprising amount of influence on later shows, and for quite a while, actually. I'm just curious to know whether you were upset at the time, or maybe even still a little bit now, that it wasn't more successful than it was when it was on air.
Oh, I have to be in appreciation of how much research you did, and how clear-minded you are, and how perceptive you are. You even have my answers in your questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, yes, thank you. I wasn't upset at all. And the truth is that My Living Doll was a marvelous idea of this robot, this perfect female who would do anything for a man upon his command. They used to think that way in those days, okay? Not so much now. But it was fun. There was humor in it. She was smarter than he.
Yeah.
And he was the doctor, psychiatrist. So, it was all for the fun. You got into it, and trying to think of my favorite person in the show, other than Bob Cummings. Who was the other guy in the show? Oh, anyways, we had so much fun on that show, but it's hard work. It really takes us about 18 hours a day sometimes to become fully prepared the next day, because television works so fast. Oh, yeah. Cat Malini, that's the name.
Okay. Yeah, it's I wish the show were more available now to be able to find. I think it could find a new audience today.
It would, even though it was in black and white. It was absolutely charming. It was the precursor of the Genie show,
yep,
which we all know now.
And Bewitched.
Bewitched, yes, the girl who would do anything for a man that she loved.
Yep.
Very sweet, very charming, very, very fun.
Yeah. What I found fascinating, and I had no idea until I started to do a little bit of research for this talk, was that there was a character on a Star Trek show who was named after your character from that show.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. The Borg, the Borg 7 of 9.
Oh, really? Tell me about that.
Well, because your the character, the robot name was 709.
Right.
And they went back because she was, this precursor of this, sultry female robot who they wanted to mold to do what they want to meet their desires. So when they created this character for Star Trek, they named her 7 of 9, and it was a callback to your character name.
Did she walk around with a towel and nothing else?
No, but she did walk around with a very tight uniform.
Oh yes, that's it. That's what you have to wear. Exactly.
Speaking of tight uniforms, Catwoman. Let's talk about Catwoman for a few minutes. You were the first to create the character of Catwoman on screen.
Sure.
When that show came about, how much thought went into your portrayal? I mean, when people talk about that character on that show from the 60s, it's usually described as, sexy. And that's true. But, looking back on it now, my kids, I have the show on Blu-ray. My kids have fallen hard for it. They love that show. But it's so interesting to watch your episodes because your portrayal of Catwoman is really, it's this vulnerable character who's just desperately looking for approval and attention. And it's, I think like she's that first and then she's this, cat burglar villain second. So I'm just wondering how intentional that was when you were doing the character, or was that just how she was written and you just went along with it?
Now, give me that one word again that you thought she was. What was it?
What, that she was sexy?
No, we know that.
We know that.
Oh.
Vulnerable?
She was vulnerable?
She was, well, because in her interaction, when you watch her interacting with Batman, she's trying to get one over on him, but you can see beneath it all that she really just is looking for his attention. And so she's
looking to get her claws into him. She's
exactly.
Looking to play with him. Like a cat comes in the house dragging a mouse, shall we say?
Yeah.
And lays it at the foot of her master, thinking, "Oh, how great this is." Yeah. Well, cats look at life differently than Batman. It's the mismatching. It's the humor of it all. It's the, "Oh, come on, let's go play." Yeah. She gives him a swat instead of a whatever. I don't know. It was brilliantly written. Yeah. Brilliant.
It looks like you guys were just having so much fun on that show.
That's the point of life. Having fun. You can't take it too seriously. Yeah. You just keep stirring up trouble.
So, I mean, I have to ask. I mean, your career, like I said, your career has spanned decades. You've won a Tony Award. You were one of the 7 brides for 7 brothers. You've been in dozens of films and shows. Do you ever get frustrated that you're just inextricably linked to Catwoman for so many people, even though that was just one job of many?
I'm inextricably linked because it was a great show.
Yeah.
And it was a great part. And it was a great time. The late 60s, we weren't at war for the last 60 years. And we were still enjoying ourselves in the flush of the good times of rebuilding after World War II. Let me not talk history, but the times you were in does have an effect on whether these films turn out to be dark or not. And many complaints about this comes, I hear, thereafter. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. That character, I mean, all characters from that show, I think, but that character, it resonates with fans, and to this day, fans still love it and love you for that portrayal. But does it have special significance for you, or was it just another job, the same as showing up for work on as any of the other shows that you were on, like My Living Doll, which you did more episodes of?
Well, the significance is in, first of all, the quality of work that went into creating such a show, and it was super high quality for this show. And the significance is that, for instance, the outfit that I wore, the Catwoman outfit, it's now in the Smithsonian Museum.
I know.
How nice, really, that people would see that and want to see it again and remember their stirrings in the utility belt, as it's always replete in answering. Oh, yeah. A lot has to do for the actor, with good writing.
Yeah.
If you don't have a richness of character, then, and for the producer, it's good casting.
Sure.
or for the director. That's what they're always asking for. So, yeah, a lot of good energy, good preparation goes into a show like Batman.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm totally going to take that stirrings in the utility belt line, though. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, if you talk to him, that's what you'll hear.
There have been a lot of Catwoman after you. Some intentionally followed in your footsteps. Some were very different. Did you keep up with the character over the years, or did you just sort of know about it? It was there in the sidelines, but you didn't really follow.
Oh, listen, I just got the most marvelous piece of fan mail I've probably ever received. I've gotten some marvelous fan mail. It's a little 9-year-old boy who wrote to me. Now, I'm not saying this. He is saying this.
Yeah.
He's saying, well, you're better than the other Catwoman because Eartha Kitt is too angry. She's more like a tiger than a house cat.
Yes.
Okay, this is a 9-year-old talking, okay? Michelle Pfeiffer is too crazy. Anne Hathaway isn't very cat-like. Halle Berry is too strange. And Lee Merriweather isn't nuanced enough.
Wow.
You think maybe his mother wrote that?
I'm impressed. This is coming from a 9-year-old.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I tell you get wonderful fan mail, just wonderful. And I love meeting people. Whenever I have a chance to do one of those Comic-Con or in the big cities, and people come and, the whole thing. Bill Shatner, all that sort of stuff. It is the best experience of my life because I don't know what it is, but people have memories that could go back 50 years.
Yeah.
And it's like it happened to them that morning. And you just look into their eyes and what they're saying, and once in a while, some girl will have tears in her eyes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this! It is. I just have to tell you, it is such a wonderful experience for me.
Oh, I can't imagine. We've talked to a lot of different people, and that is one common refrain. People say, going to either conventions or just meeting fans and hearing the stories of how the projects that they've worked on have affected them personally. That's like the most rewarding thing. More than awards, more than, other actors or peers recognizing them. It's the fan reactions that mean the most.
Oh, it's the gift into your life.
Yeah.
It's the okay. It's the sweet blessing,
Yeah.
It's the kiss from on high.
So you return to the role now in Return of the Caped Crusaders. Why now?
Because they asked. Warner Brothers.
Because they asked. Well, how did they ask? I want to know the story.
And I guess it was popular enough.
Yeah.
That they put it out now. It's coming out November 1st on your computer, and then November 11th in DVD, and it's an animated full film. It's called Batman: Return of the Caped Crusaders. So it has all the enemies, all the bad guys, all the bad stuff, all the things that your kids can, deliciously get, dressed up for, put their capes on and run around and jump off the sofa and smash things.
I'm so looking forward to seeing.
Yes.
This wasn't your first time doing voiceover for animation, though, was it?
Oh no.
Is that something that you enjoy doing?
It's a different kind of, shall we call it talent?
Yeah, it's a talent, absolutely.
Well, it's very concentrated. You're in this dark space here, and it's kind of like drawing a picture where you have the numbers and you have to go from 1 and end up on 300, and you bring to it what you can. It isn't entirely your decision. You really have to work with the demanding techniques of getting it up there and drawing the characters and whatever it is they do to assemble all these elements into This Disney world that we have of animated films. It's quite a challenge.
Yeah. Was it a challenge to get back into character, though, or did you find that was pretty easy?
You know what? I'm going to put
into it?
something on my Facebook page next Wednesday. I'm going to show them how I did it.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
I'm taking the first page from my script, and I've never done this before, but I've got all the secrets there. These are the things that I tell myself to think about while I'm doing it, and nobody's ever seen. I mean, they hear the dialogue, but they don't know what I'm thinking behind the lines. And I'm going to put that up on. So it's Julie Newmar. Just go to Facebook, Julie Newmar, whatever it is, on Facebook. Yeah, come join me. It's fun.
Absolutely.
See,
We'll definitely we'll link to that too with this.
It's embarrassing, but I think you'll get it.
Did you?
For instance, 50 years later, in order to play Catwoman, I had to tell myself consciously through my brain to act young, to sound like an 18-year-old, because your voice gets lower as you get older. And if you ever remember Lucille Ball's voice, it was going to go very low.
Yeah.
So, well, there's all kinds of techniques we use to. Well, you'll see my secret.
Okay, not too many spoilers.
Next week.
Did you? When you were making the film, The Return of the Cape Crusaders, did you record together with Adam and Bert, or were you by yourself?
No, you don't. It's it's unfortunate. They do each individual character.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I know sometimes everybody records together, but it's not often. It's usually everybody's in isolation.
Yeah. It's a very strict form of movie making at that point to put those voices together.
Yeah. Unbelievably, this is, and you've said 50th, but this is the 50th anniversary of both Batman and Star Trek, which you guest starred on an episode of the original series. I'm curious how that came about. How did you get that role?
I don't know.
They just asked?
I have no idea how they choose whom they choose.
Did you audition, or did they come to you?
Who is not available, and then you're the second, third, or fourth choice. I have no idea. But I was very pregnant in this one, and I had to.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Oh, well, it was quite an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Science fiction.
The show Star Trek, you were on the second season, and it was already a phenomenon by that time. But were you a fan?
I'm kind of, science fiction is not my thing.
Yeah.
I like dance and comedy. I love comedy. That's where my preferences are.
Yeah.
Because it has so much to do with music and timing and fun and silliness and invention and working off truth, working off drama, working off those things. And science fiction there's too many unanswered questions. You have to pretend you're something that you have no idea what the heck that is.
Yeah.
So, but so is being a robot. That was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do. Really difficult. Because how do you make a robot understandable that is to an audience?
Yeah.
How do you make them feel who you are? Because we have to feel things in order to understand them. And that's my job as an actor.
Yeah.
Actress? I don't know why that got lost. I prefer actress, but actor? Okay.
Yeah. So you prefer comedy and a little bit more lighthearted fare?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you watch TV? Is there anything that you're watching now?
I watch all the time. Yes,
all the time.
Oh my God, I watch too much television. Yes, but I love Stephen Colbert, 'cause he's
Oh, yeah.
so brilliant and he's so gifted. He just can do anything. Yeah. I was thinking of a great character actress, Joan Cusack.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Thinking how brilliant she is, how gifted she is, how marvelous. I haven't seen much of her lately. I don't know what she's doing, but I have to extol her talents.
Oh, I love her.
Great performer.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
my.
Yeah, she doesn't get enough roles, and I don't know if that's her decision or if she's just not getting the roles.
To
But
be a parent or teaching. I don't know what she's doing. Let's find out.
well, let's find out. This might seem a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but having had the experiences that you've had and having worked with who you've worked with, do you think that Adam West as Batman or Bill Shatner as Captain Kirk better portrayed the ideal of 1960s masculinity? Because they were both very macho guys.
Oh, yeah. Hello? You answered it.
Well,
you answered your own question.
Can you pick one or the other?
Well, I think Adam was a perfect Batman.
Yeah.
Because the tongue in cheek. Because when you're freer to have fun, when you're freer to be joyous, when you're freer to laugh, you're in a healthier state, the country or yourself, or you see. And William Shatner, oh my goodness, what a gifted actor. Canadian, did Shakespeare, hugely intelligent, incredible in comedy. Yeah. Oh my gracious, such timing.
Yeah.
I don't know what more could be said.
Well, they are. They're sort of the two paragons of what it meant to be a man in the 60s.
Oh my God, paragon, thanks for that word.
Batman has had such an incredibly significant impact on popular culture. On top of everything else that you've done in your career, though, is it gratifying to look back at the role that you've had and that you've played and the influence that you've had on everything else? I mean, do you have, I guess what I'm asking is, do you have any regrets, or do you just look back and think, man, I did good. I did really good.
You know what's truly interesting is that, yes, we'll be probably remembered for one role or two or three, but in my experience, and probably everyone else's, we are as good at everything we do. We put everything into everything we're doing. But sometimes it's the wrong time to do that story or film that show, or that character has not been perfectly written. But I've always felt that I've given my all in everything I've done. And fortunately, at the moment, you didn't look back and say, oh, waste of time here. I think I'll just, dial it in.
Yeah.
You follow me? No, I think we do our best.